Hey, Sam.
Hey Bev, what you drinking over there?
I have a nice, big, steaming mug of coffee. Actually, it's a latte. I don't know why I called it coffee.
Ooh,
My brain just shut off again and
your brain's like must need caffeine.
more coffee, please. Caffeine. What are you drinking over there?
I have a large cup of coffee as well, but mine's actually like coffee, and it's in my cat-finated mug. So there's a cat looking pretty spastic on it.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I got it for Christmas. But my coffee is very special because it's Death Wish coffee. And
Mmm.
it's my new favorite coffee. And it is the world's most caffeinated coffee. So since we're recording on a Wednesday at like 8 in the morning right now, um, you know, I figured I'd bring out the good stuff since I can't have alcohol since I do have to work today.
Right. Yeah, I guess I could have described my mug. My neighbor hand threw my mug
Ooh.
and then put a goat on it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I'm drinking out of a goat mug in celebration of new goat babies.
Yes. I don't have a goat mug, so I guess I should have planned better, but I can pretend this cat is a crazy baby goat.
I mean, it works, right? I
Yeah,
mean, goats don't have claws.
that's true.
Um,
They have cute little hooves.
that's right. It's early in the morning. Please forgive us.
Yes.
We're still snoozing.
I got. But hey, welcome to We Drink and We Farm Things, and that's Bev over there.
And that's Sam over there.
And this is the farm comedy podcast that is happy hour for your ear holes.
Yeah, we drink adult beverages, talk about farming things, and give zero clucks about having the perfect farm life.
That's right. So we don't like not want our farms to be full of good things all the time, but the realities of farm life aren't always rainbows and sunshine.
We like to keep it real with you and have discussions that include the mistakes we make, new knowledge we gain. We try to entertain you, and sometimes we go off on tangents that are non farming related. And speaking of tangents, we like to record them as a BS session and throw them up on the Patreon. But we didn't do one today because it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Do I have to say anything else about that?
Yeah, and it's Wednesday. Yeah. So you can check out previously recorded BS sessions over on patreon.com/drinkandfarm. But I've also put some fun outtakes up there. But the BS is for everyone. The outtakes, you do have to be a Patreon supporter to get access to those. So go over there and check it out.
Yeah, and while you're there, if you do decide to join our Patreon at the $5 level and above, we're getting ready to send out our little thank you gifties for that. So if you've been thinking about supporting the podcast, now's a good time to do it because you'll get something sweet in exchange. We'll be sending them out mid-April-ish.
Yeah. So that'll be a great time. I always love sending our listeners little gifts because it's a great way to thank you for being supporters.
And speaking of our supporters, our drinks this episode are sponsored by Ashley Kiernan, which is at Ashley Kiernan on Instagram. So cheers, lady.
Yes, cheers.
Oh my God, we're just gonna skip all the bullshit that we usually put before the episode, and we're gonna get right into this baby goat thing.
Yes.
I mean, does everybody agree? If listeners could answer me, I feel like they'd say, yeah.
Yes, baby goats. I mean, if you're in our Facebook group, you saw pictures and some videos, not of the actual birth that Maya had because it happened so fast, but you saw pictures of the goat that I now refer to as Eggsy Benedict. You saw him and Mom because I thought he was gonna be the only one, but then I got a surprise. But we'll get to that. But yeah, so if you're in the group, you've seen that we have baby goats. And it was a pretty crazy experience. This was our first I wouldn't say our first birth on the farm because, we've hatched chicks, we've had baby bunnies a couple times, but I don't know, this one feels different because it's a larger animal. And
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see that. And I feel like the bigger the animal, just like the more intense it
yeah,
is, if that makes sense.
absolutely. So I mean, I feel like if we had horses and I watched a horse give birth, that would feel even bigger than this in some senses.
Yeah.
Even though they're kind of like, they're obviously different, but it's all kind of the same, and it's kind of amazing to, I mean, I haven't pushed a human out of my body, but I have seen things in health class videos, and you know,
I've
I've
seen
I've
things.
heard things from people about how that goes, and it's kind of funny that, for every like human birth, they're all different. Same for goats, apparently, because Maya, we didn't feel her ligaments anymore on my birthday, and I like freaked out because I was like, shit, I am not prepared for this right now. I thought we had a couple weeks, but this is awesome. Maybe I'll get baby goats on my birthday. And Matt didn't feel her ligaments that morning, so it could have been just within like 16 to 24 hours we had babies. But we have a hostage situation going on as of this morning with Diana. I couldn't feel her ligaments on Sunday, and she's still holding them babies hostages. Just in her belly. She's sleeping right now. That bitch.
I might need to come over there and give her a pep talk. Come on, Diana. Give me those babies. I want to hold those babies.
But yeah. So, even just obviously Diana hasn't fully gone through her birth yet. Or her birthing, her laboring. Her situation isn't complete yet. So, and already they're so different. So I thought it would be kind of fun to go over things the internet tells you to watch for, or what to expect when your goat is expecting. Because I thought it'd be kind of fun to go through like what a couple articles said you can look for and what actually happened and how it presented in Maya, and how I'm kind of confused about Diana right now.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun because I think what we're going to learn is that um, there are a lot of stories out there about like farming things and how farming things happen, but they're presented as like absolutes when it turns out it's just not so absolute. Just like people, all animals are different.
Right, exactly. So with Maya, we actually would get up every like hour and a half, 2 hours that night, because of course we couldn't feel ligaments around like 4:30, so we checked on her a couple of times before bed, and then we checked on her at like midnight, 1:30, 3, and then I went out at 4:45. And it's so funny because we go out there and she'd just be like standing there in the same spot, looking kind of focused. But until it was like 4:45, I didn't see any mucus or long, clear strings of goop, as the internet says, coming out of her.
That feels like a good way to describe it.
Yeah, so that's kind of like one of the signs for sure is the ligaments are loosened, which when I say that, that means you can run your fingers down the spine to the head of the tail, or I guess to the base of the tail is probably more appropriate. And when they're not in like pre-labor getting close, it feels like there are pencils on either side of the tail. They're pretty prominent. So we'll link to a couple articles in the show notes because a couple of them have pictures of where to feel for those. And you can also like YouTube it because that's how I learned. So you want to make sure you're like feeling for those. Probably doesn't hurt to start now, even if your goats aren't pregnant, just so you're super familiar with how that feels. And then definitely a couple weeks before kidding, check those out. So Maya lost hers and then she went pretty quick, but apparently they can start softening and become harder to detect a couple weeks before. Again, just very different for everybody. Yeah, so you can check for the pelvic ligaments. Obviously, their udder will start bagging up, but even that is kind of tricky. It's funny because earlier in the day, like Maya ran by and I was like, wow, her udder is looking like super full. And then, like, a couple hours later, we were like, oh crap, okay, time to go. um, but and apparently, like, it's customary to like shave the udder and like the backside before birth, probably because it keeps things a little cleaner. That's not something we're doing right now, but if the udder is like shaved down, it might appear more like glossy or shiny, as well as full. So those are a couple of things to look for. And then, like I was saying with Diana, for the mucus or the long clear string of goob, um,
Goob.
hanging from her vagina, um, it was, I would describe it as kind of like clearish. And then I read on the internet that if the goop is amber, it's amniotic fluid and kidding should happen very soon. But hers never really turned like that ambery. It was more of like a little like blood colored. And then
Okay.
I could tell she was like contracting because she was just kind of like, she wasn't yelling. She was just like breathing kind of hard and she almost was making sounds like she was annoyed, which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
And and then like all of a sudden she starts like yelling and then I see like a hoof like just kind of like peeking out a little bit when she pushed. It wasn't like fully coming out. So I like ran in the house to wake up Matt and I was like, you have to come out here. Oh my gosh, she's pushing. And then I ran back in like literally 2 minutes. And like as I'm like walking around the wall to get back into her part of the barn, she pushes one out.
Oh.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, it's a baby. And then, she's kind of like chillaxing for like 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, there's this thing coming out of her. It's like, and I assumed it was like the sac,
The placenta.
Yeah, I assumed that's what it was, but it was actually the water bag.
Oh.
So clearly I knew nothing about what I was looking at, which was fine. But when the doe starts pushing, you might see that water bag first, and then the bag might burst or it might come out intact, and then a second bag might come through that's like a darker fluid. These bags are like the amniotic fluid, and that's what surrounds the kids and protects them until it's time to give birth. And typically those things come out first, I guess, but the sac came out second. And then she started pushing again. And I was like, oh my God, that's another baby coming out. And then Waffles came out. And I went, oh my God, you're so cute. And if you haven't seen a picture of Waffles yet, we'll put it up on the Drinkin' Farm Instagram when this episode drops. He's really stinking cute. His coloring is really neat. And he came out completely in his bag, which was really bizarre because he came out and I could tell he was fine, but I worked on like getting his nose clear so he could breathe, and then I put him over to Mom. And then like literally 5 seconds later, Tater Tot came out. And the reason
what you named them
for all the food names is because Maya means gravy in some Nigerian language. And then we also have Biscuit, which is her wether that came with her. And they were our first goats. So I was like, I have to name them kind of breakfasty foods because it's only fair. But yeah, so they came out quick, and then I saw the larger like placenta and stuff come out. So things kind of happened a little out of order. I think Tater Tot actually came out butt first, but that was okay because he came right out. She didn't have any problems. So they can come out butt first. And as long as they're not having issues, like they're not stuck or Mom's not pushing for a really long extended period of time, it's absolutely fine. So it's like, if it's been like 20, 30 minutes and she's pushing and nothing's happening, that's when you might want to like kind of put a glove on, lube up, and go in there and feel what's going on.
Yeah.
But most of the time they can take care of it themselves. And, you know, sometimes they surprise you and give birth and, like, you're not even there. So, and they do perfectly fine. So it was really nice to see kind of it happen out of order, because then I know that it's not going to be like a standardized process every single time this happens.
Yeah, which is so hard because, like, you want to plan ahead and have all the things ready and do all the things right. And then you're like, well, all of this plan just went to shit. Like,
Right, exactly. Some other signs that you can look for when your goat is expecting, and it's go time. So things get kind of puffy down there. And also if you look at like the back end of a goat near the vagina and butthole area, it feels kind of weird.
that thing's staring at me like all the
Yeah.
time every time I go out to the goats.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So you notice like everything's kind of like wrinkly and tight, right? So when it's time for things to loosen up, it gets a little more puffy and like you don't see as many wrinkles anymore. It's because it's like relaxing and expanding to accommodate for the exiting of the kids.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And, you know, if you have goats, you'll recognize what Sam's talking about, because if you've noticed your goats go into heat, I just saw it for the first time the other day.
Aww.
So now I know what to look for heat, because like two of them were running ahead and I was like, something doesn't look right. And I went up, I was like, oh, their vagina is just really puffy and there's like a little fluid coming out of it. They must be going into heat. So I marked it on the calendar so that now I can be watching for it. Yeah.
I wonder if they have an app for that. You know, like how you can track your cycle. There's apps for humans to track their cycles.
Yeah, there should be an app for goat tracking cycles. If not, someone steal it. Do it. We're full of ideas.
Yes. And there's just no time.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so outside of things getting puffy down there, you might see your doe kind of going off by herself or getting restless. Their appetite might go down, but sometimes, you know, they can eat right up to when they give birth, or they might even have a snack in between pushing out kids. I've read that as well. And then sometimes the does become more vocal in general. Other things would be like pawing at the ground. So I definitely saw this with Maya when after she had mucus, she was pawing at the ground and kind of making almost like a little nest for herself. And that is where she laid down and had the kids. I've noticed Diana pawing around a little bit, so I have a suspicion of where she's going to lay down. But with her at this point, I have no clue, because I think she knows there's a camera in the barn now, and she's doing things that she know will like make me come out and check on her.
She's so smart.
I'm fairly certain, because like last night I thought she had like a really big contraction when I was watching her at like 9 o'clock. I was like, I should go out and check on her. No. It might have been the kids like getting into position, but it just looks like such a big movement that I was like, oh. God, there she's just like, I give her some food, she just starts eating. I'm like, you're such a bitch, but I love you. Another thing I really noticed with Maya was that she did get even more affectionate, and she started like pushing her head against like the wall or a fence or even like my leg. And those can be signs of pre-labor. And you could also have like the opposite happen where the doe is more afraid of you, especially if they've always been kind of skittish, like they're going to even be more wild. Or they might turn around and just be affectionate all of a sudden. So it's kind of like just keep an eye on the doe and you know her personality. And if you're saying things like, she's never done that before, or she is acting weird, like that could just be it. Like the only sign you might get is that she's acting weird. You might not get like any of these. Like I've even read people saying, oh yeah, the doe was eating like 20 minutes before, there was no mucus. I thought I had plenty of time. I go back outside, you know, couple like 20 minutes later and there's babies on the ground. So so I would definitely recommend, if you can, getting some kind of camera in your barn if you don't have one. And the way we are making that work is we have a phone that's just a hotspot. So that one is outside right now, in the barn. So the webcam can hook up to that. And then we have an app on our phones and on the iPad that gives us the feed for the camera. And then we've been just using the iPad and our phones as hotspots if we need internet in the house. So that has cut down on how many times I actually have to go outside. And for Diana, I just set an alarm for like every 90 minutes to wake up in the middle of the night and kind of watch her for a few minutes. And then I just try to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So
you're like exhausted over there.
Oh, yeah, because we thought Sunday morning, like I wake my husband up at 8 a.m. and I tell him we have to build another door and we have to put Diana over there like now. And I made sure all the towels were washed and like I got the puppy pads ready for this time and I washed the sweaters for the newbies. I was like so ready, and now it's Wednesday and she's napping.
And she gives 0 bleats about your sleep.
Exactly, because she's sleeping great.
New mama's got to rest up.
Yes, no, that is good. And I'm making sure she's got plenty of minerals, baking soda, water. She's got her own space. She's like at Club Med right now.
That's awesome. So I'm curious about the hotspot in the cameras. Does it use too much data to send the video over, or?
I have no idea. I have no clue, and we have unlimited data on our phones. So it can kind of slow things down after a certain threshold, but we use so much data anyways, that we're not really having a problem with the feed too much. Sometimes it'll like disconnect, but then it'll reconnect right away, and that's not very often. But I also considered getting like a Wi-Fi extender and trying that. But I just don't know with how far the barn is from the house. So we've just been keeping the phone out there for now.
Yeah, that's really tricky. I have we use Google Fi for our cell phones, so we don't have unlimited data. Like between we have 3 phones because we have a teenager. Between all of us, we usually use only about like 6 gigs a month.
Wow.
Because it charge us like $10 per gig. But we're home almost all the time because we all work from home, and Orion goes to school, but he doesn't get to use his phone while he's there. So yeah, so we hardly use any data, but my new car has cell service. Has like its own cell service. So I'm like, I might have to like go park that like in the, but you can't leave it running,
right?
That's how the cell phone tower pops up. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to figure something out for a camera when we get there, because our barn is so far away from the house.
Right.
I'm like, yeah. And going out there is, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But definitely next time I do this, I'm going to breed during warmer months, because this is bullshit. And like we've taken extra measures to make sure like all the holes are filled in the barn and so it's not drafty. And we'll get into like how we're keeping the babies warm in a little bit. But yeah, it just the outside, and it was so windy the day that Maya gave birth, that our trampoline was like blowing away across the yard.
Oh,
because we never broke it down for the winter because we're lazy like that.
Yeah.
And I just hate that thing is in my yard because it screws up my pictures, but the kids love it. Like my human stepkids love it so much, and it's a great way to keep them entertained that it's like fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But I can't like hide it behind the barn because then I can't see what they're doing because
you can't make sure nobody's like launched the other one off.
Right, or that
space.
nobody's broken something and we don't have to go to the ER,
Yeah.
So we had to like, and it was so muddy because it was like 40 degrees out, and then it dropped like tremendously. but we had to, like, in the middle of the night, take the trampoline, drag it over to a tree, and tie it to a tree.
Oh,
It was,
oh my
like, that
gosh.
windy out. So we really made sure, like, it was not drafty in the barn for those babies.
Yeah. I always wonder why. I mean, there's got to be a reason why people breed to have babies in January and February. But I feel like every year I see, everybody's like really concerned about the new babies in the middle of, because we had the polar vortex a couple of weeks
Mm-hmm.
ago. We keep having like wild temperature swings. It'll be -10 here and then it's like 60 the next week. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I personally have no reason to have babies in January and February. So I think I'm going to try to intentionally breed for, March through June and then September through November.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if it's like operations that have so many does that they breed that they just space it out, maybe.
Oh, that's totally a possibility.
Ours was just because Toot broke in
Yeah.
to the ladies area and did what he wanted to do. And I remember distinctly the second time he broke in. So I'm thinking he got Maya the first time. The second time he broke in, I went, oh my gosh, we're going to have Valentine's Day babies, because that was the calculation. So I wouldn't be surprised if this bitch waits till tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
And when I call her a bitch, I mean it in the most loving way possible, because she's
Yes,
adorable.
yes.
But,
Yeah.
and so I might have to see if I don't know. She better not give birth while I'm like, physically at work tomorrow. If she seems close, I'm going to be like, I'm going to stay home today and work from home.
I'm glad that you're venting your frustration of like, not being able to have the control of when things happen, because it's just so true. Like,
Right.
you mark it on the calendar, you have everything ready, and it's another reminder that you're not in control of this.
Right. And you know what? She's going to have them when she's ready. And as long as, like, and because I don't know exactly when, because I saw her get bred at Aslan's birthday party, which was like the end of September, which
At
lands
a
her like,
birthday party.
yeah,
All the kids are like,
a
ooh.
little, yeah, a little education. And based on that date, it should be like the end of February. So I'm wondering if Toot did get her earlier than I thought.
Oh, that's a possibility. Yep.
Or she just, taking her sweet time and just wanted her own birthing suite, kind of like Maya, and was faking it.
She's faking it.
She's like, get me away from these boys.
In the Midwest, the weather is all over the freaking place this time of year. It's either a polar vortex or a total tease for spring, and sometimes in between.
Right, and this means the bugs and stink are kind of all over the place too, which is why we use First Saturday Lime.
First Saturday Lime is an organic, safe, and effective pest barrier that helps keep bugs at bay. It can help put a stop to the stink in your barns and coops, and can also help prevent algae growth in your water dish.
And I feel so good about using First Saturday Lime in the barn because it's super safe for all these new bouncing baby goats.
And First Saturday Lime isn't just for the farm. You can use it on the perimeter of your home to keep the nasty little buggers from creepy crawling into your house too.
We use First Saturday Lime on our farms, and we can't live without it now. If you go to firstsaturdaylime.com and use code DRINK at checkout, you'll get 20% off your order for a very limited time.
And you're still not sure what First Saturday Lime is? Make sure that you check out our mini-sode with Jessica from First Saturday Lime called Drink and Lime. We promise you won't be disappointed. Jessica is hilarious, and you'll love learning about lime while having a few laughs.
So, now I had all this cuteness in front of me, and I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? Because I was clearly not really prepared for this. I had my stuff together. I had extra towels. I kind of felt like I was prepared. I was prepared, but I wasn't truly prepared. So after they were born, I let Mom drive them off as much as possible, but we did help with some toweling off because it was frickin' freezing that morning. You do want to let Mom lick them clean as much as possible because that's how she gets to know their scent, and that's when they bond. So we helped a little bit, but not like all the way. And then you want to make sure they get that first milk or the colostrum within like at least, they say 24 hours. Ideally within 6, but our babies stood up pretty quickly. I would say within an hour, everybody was kind of up and moving and had taken the first drink from mom. And we were kind of helping facilitate that. I think mostly just out of paranoia for myself. I just wanted them to know, yep, you go over here for mama and she'll give you what you need. So we were able to see them drink a couple of times within the first 24 hours, and that made us feel a lot better.
Well, and it makes sense that you intervened just a little bit to make sure that they got the milk and colostrum that they needed, because she had 3 and goats only have 2 teats. So, like, that can get a little tricky to make sure that everyone gets a turn.
Right, exactly. And the last one that came out of her tater tot was pretty small, so I did want to make sure, like, he was getting his fair share and he wasn't getting pushed out of the way. And that's something that I still check for, so you can feel their bellies. If you haven't seen them physically get up and drink, you can feel their bellies, and they're supposed to be like kind of firm and full, not squishy and not like empty. So I just do those checks every time I go in just to make sure everybody's doing good. You can also bring in a little scale and weigh them and make sure they're all gaining weight kind of at the same rate. And funny thing, Maya, if you didn't hear every time I said him or he, Maya gave us 3 boys. And I guess boys can be a little more pushy with getting their milk, and sometimes they overdrink, which can cause some scouring. So you just want to keep an eye on that too. And then you can do a little bit of separation if they're just like chugging like they're, at a frat party. You can kind of just put them in periodically, but you can definitely Google that if you're having that issue. I have seen them all pee and poop multiple times, so I know they're good. But baby, like super baby goat poop is kind of like a yellowish, like calf shit color.
Yeah, I describe it so newborn babies that are breastfeeding have poop that's that same color. It's like that yellow stone ground mustard look, like color.
Yeah. And it's
it doesn't look like it because it's not all mushy. Right, it's not supposed to be like runny. Yeah,
right. And it's not like the adult ball poops that you see. It's kind of like ball-ish, but it's more like in a clump.
Yeah, it's like a ball log.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, so you want to make sure they get that first couple of drinks, and then you have to clip the cord, apparently. Actually, you don't have to. I did see Maya starting to like kind of go after it. But they have their umbilical cord like hanging from their belly. And some of them have really long ones. Some of them are a little shorter. But what you can do is take some dental floss and like an inch below their belly, tie it off really tight, and then snip under that. And then you're going to dip it in iodine, which dipping it in iodine was kind of tricky. So what I did was I bought Vetricin +7, I think is what it's called. So it's an iodine spray.
Okay.
So we can link to that in the show notes. And you don't want iodine to freeze either. And we let the first bottle freeze. So that was our bad. So I just went ahead and got the spray just because it stinks so bad. And it like stunk up my husband's gloves really bad. Because I accidentally spilled it on him a little bit. Because I like bumped the baby goat and it just, it was a mess. So I got that for just Maya, and then we'll just have it in the house, and it's going to last us for forever. But that was a little unsettling to me to actually like clip the cords, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm cutting off something from this baby. This is so weird. But it was fine. They didn't even really fuss or anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say he probably didn't even notice. Yeah,
he was more annoyed that I was picking him up, I think.
Yeah,
or that Matt was picking him up. And then like I said, mom can do that too, but you don't want to run the risk of that area getting infected. So we did intervene and just take care of that. And then we just dipped in iodine twice a day for 2 days to make sure it was good. And then it'll eventually fall off. Other things that we've been doing is just keeping an eye on the babies and mom. It's super important not to forget to keep an eye on mom. She might be having some bloody discharge for a couple days after because she's just, her system's cleaning out after the birth, kind of like, sorry guys if you didn't know this, kind of like females do after they give birth to
like
humans.
Yep.
So it's not super alarming if you see some bloody stuff coming out. The placenta can take like up to 24 hours for her to fully like give birth to. And then a couple days after you might see some discharge, and that's okay. As long as like she's not pouring blood for no apparent reason, she's probably fine. We did notice though, because we've been like keeping the door closed, and we did have a little like electric heater in there because it was so cold the day they were born, and then the temp jumped up to like 40 and then it dropped back down to the teens. We did keep an electric heater from TSC in there, and it looks like a little freaking fireplace, so my goats look so bougie. But we have another heating source now that they use, but we had that going for them. You got to be really careful with that though, because we kind of had an oops. We opened the door so the boy goats could run outside, and Maya was standing super close to the wall near that opening, and then she chugged a bunch of cold water, and then she started shivering like kind of violently for a while. So I like kind of freaked out, because that could mean either she's just acclimating to the temperature drop, or, you know, it was like 2 days after she gave birth. So I was like, this could just be like hypoclampsia or whatever. And I like kind of started freaking out. And then I Googled it and I was like, okay, it's probably not the more serious things. So I just took her temperature and it was like 100.2, which is just like a little low. But we gave her some warm water to drink. Or actually, we gave her some hot water to drink, I should say. And then we just put her by that little heater, and then she was fine in like 30 minutes.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And we made sure she got some extra grain then too. And we ran out and got just straight alfalfa hay. And like, yeah, she was fine when she loaded up. I think she just kind of was crashing a little bit because she's feeding 3 babies. It's her first time. Like, we weren't totally aware of how much grain she should be getting. So we definitely upped that. But yeah, that was kind of scary a little bit. So you definitely want to keep an eye on everybody.
Yeah, the goats that aren't pregnant and aren't producing milk, like nutrition wise, they're fine just like grazing and getting a little hay. They don't even need grain per se. Like grain is just sort of like a treat to them. But does that are in milk, they need that energy to make the milk.
Right.
Just like nursing moms do. New moms need, to have like full nutrition in order to create healthy milk for babies. So it totally makes sense.
Right. And I like Googled like 1 pound of grain equals 3 pounds of milk. And with how much those little ones should be eating, we've been doing a little over a pound. And like it's surprising. She will stop eating if she's full and just come back to it later. Same with the hay. Like she just goes to town on the hay. But something that you might want to offer your doe after she gives birth is some really hot water. And we mixed in electrolytes, like goat electrolytes, or you can do molasses. Because that's going to give her that energy boost to kind of keep her up and moving and feeding the babies right after she gives birth. It's amazing how much they can tolerate hot water. Like, it's like scorching hot, and she like chugged a whole bowl.
Oh.
Yeah, so definitely want to go get mom that if you can after she gives birth. Because you want them to be hydrated because milk is mostly water.
Yep. I want to go back to her placenta. I was curious, did she eat it?
It kind of came out in like bits and pieces. And she was
Okay.
definitely like licking around the areas where she gave birth and where most of it landed.
Okay.
So yeah, we let her do that. Some people don't because they're afraid they're gonna like choke on it. But with the way hers came out, and I just wasn't really worried.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious. Because they're not meat eating animals, but because they're ruminants. But um, yeah, I was wondering if they ate their placenta. I'll
Hmm.
have to Google that. They must. It seems like they do. So
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, she picked at it, but we also like have been fluffing up the hay and stuff in there too. So it's like I don't know like how much she ate. Probably quite a bit because yeah, we have this camera on her, but it's not like I can sit here and stare at it all day, even though I would like to.
Right.
But yeah, so I see you have some questions here.
I do. Oh yeah, goats totally eat their own placentas. Sorry, I had to Google that.
That's okay.
Just because I was curious. I realized until you talked about it, I didn't think of that. So yeah, I know that you and Matt took turns checking on Maya and installed a camera. What kind of camera was it? So I know we already talked about how it worked in the barn,
Yeah.
with the Wi-Fi, but where did you get the camera?
I think it's called Black Label Cam. It was a Groupon buy from like 4 years ago when we lived in a city and wanted something in the house. So I don't even know if that still exists or not because it was like a buy two on Groupon thing. We have no clue where the second one is. So we just had the one camera and it was in one spot so we could watch Maya and her babies. Now it's in a spot where it like can swivel and see both into Diana's pen and Maya's pen. Um, but yeah, it wasn't very expensive, from what I can remember. But yeah, it works pretty good though, and it's got this fancy little like in the app you can do like presets of where you want to go with the camera angle. So I have like five presets for where they mostly hang out so I can quickly go around so I don't have to just keep swiping to move the camera.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you don't have to be out there to move the camera. The
Oh,
camera
right.
moves on its, yeah, it moves with the
Through,
app. Okay.
yeah.
That's pretty handy. All right.
Yes.
Maybe I'll do a little research and link to something that's like that if I can't find something that is that exact thing. Because I didn't realize that that was an option. So
Mm-hmm,
cool.
mm-hmm.
And I noticed that in the barn where the babies are, you have something that looks kind of like an igloo that's like glowing red. What is that?
It's a spaceship. That's what it looks like. To me it looks like a spaceship. But it's actually a garbage can flipped upside down with a like an ovalish opening cut into it. And then we drilled holes around the top and cut out the middle of the top, or I guess the bottom. It's the top because it's flipped upside down.
Yeah.
And then put a heat lamp with a 250-watt bulb in it.
Okay.
And I didn't want just a heat lamp hanging out in the barn. That probably would have been fine for a couple days, but now the goats are bouncing way more.
Yeah.
I didn't want them like bouncing up into it. So this is a good way to give them a spot to go cuddle and be warm if they're cold. With the light being more stabilized. We also have the actual trash can screwed into the wall.
Oh, that way they can't knock it over. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Because I'm just like super paranoid.
It makes sense to be paranoid about barn fires. Like it's
Yeah.
it's a really difficult thing. You want your animals to be warm enough. And new babies, they don't have the cashmere bougie coats yet.
Right.
So sometimes depending on what the temperature is, you have to do something, but
Mm-hmm.
you hear everybody yelling like no heat lamps, no heat lamps. They cause barn fires. We were like,
Mm-hmm.
well, what else am I supposed to do? Because a lot of the other solutions can be really expensive or hard to find if
Right.
you're really rural.
Right.
So you got to kind of like put in some ingenuity.
Redneck ingenuity is what I like to call it, even though some people might not like that. But the heater that we got from TSC was like on clearance for like $50, and we actually bought it for the house because we've been having some problems with our furnace. And then when they came out, I was like, screw us, bring that out here.
Yeah.
Because like we had like a lower wattage bulb at the time in the spaceship, as I like to call it, and it just wasn't warm enough, and like they weren't strong enough to really walk very far yet. So we just brought that in and kicked it on, and it's electric, and it's like it's one of the safer options to have in a barn, but I'm still like really paranoid just in general about it.
Yeah.
But like we check it multiple times during the day. There's no hay touching it. It's got plenty of room to take in the air through the back and push out the warm air in the front. And I've got it down on the lowest setting now because I'm trying to wean everybody off of that. So we can take it out, because you don't want to just shut it off, because that'll drop the temperature inside too quickly.
Yep.
Which is bad, which is something you need to consider if you're going to use a heat source like that. You can't just be all willy-nilly about it.
Yeah. We say that a lot. And, I just discovered something new the other day. I haven't gotten a chance to like really research into it. But they have ceramic bulbs now.
Yes.
That screw into the actual heat lamp base. Because I got a bunch of those heat lamp bases.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to try those out this spring. Because I told my husband we needed meat chickens by February 15th. Obviously, that's not happening quite yet because I don't have my shit together. But I'm going to get a couple of those ceramic bulbs and see how they work. Because they're supposed to be a safer option.
Yeah.
Because just the ceramic kind of like does like a radiant heat thing in the area to like warm all the stuff around it, and it's not it doesn't catch hay on fire when it flies up on top of it and gets too hot. So
oh man, sorry, I got distracted because Maya's just you know what I recommend actually with this camera thing, like going back to that, set it up ahead of time so you just know what your goats are actually doing when you're not looking, because she's laying on the ground on her side and she's got her neck extended out and she's kind of like rolling around, and even though I know she's just like sleeping, even her doing that weird shit makes me feel like something's wrong just because I don't know how they act.
yeah, because when I'm in there, they're on me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they don't do their goat things when I'm in the room.
Right.
They want to hang out with me.
Right.
That's so funny.
So, yeah, I'd recommend just doing that a little while before, just so you can see their normal behavior. What a weirdo.
Something else I noticed is that the little baby goats are wearing what looks like old, like, sweater sleeves, like cut off and made into little coats. Like, what are those? Did you make them? I had never seen that before, so I'm curious.
It's actually really funny. I think I saw it when I Googled really quick, like goat sweaters. But then I was also on Instagram, and Mandy from at Wild Oak Farm, she actually had a baby goat the same day I did. And she showed like cutting off the sleeve of a sweatshirt from the elbow. And then what I did was I cut them all out. I cut all the sleeves off the sweatshirts, and then I went out and kind of measured them, like held it against the goat to see how long they were. So then I cut it down, and then you want to, especially for the boys, and with the umbilical cord too, you want to kind of cut it like a dog sweater almost, where it's like covers the chest but leaves like room for the umbilical cord so it's not rubbing, and for the boys to pee. And then I just like laid let me back up. You want to have the bottom part be where the seam is on the sweater. And then I flipped it over and flattened it out so the seam was facing me, and then cut little like plus signs where their legs should go. And then, didn't like cut round holes or anything. I just like cut little plus signs and then slipped them into it, and it worked out great. And we have tons of old sweatshirts that Matt has that he wasn't using or just don't really fit anymore. So we made a couple of those so we can just swap them out when they get a little poopy or stinky.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I crocheted some really cute goat sweaters for my babies. They were a little too big. They were hard to put on them because, they were crocheted. So everything was, like stuck where it was. It wasn't, I couldn't exactly like snip or make any adjustments to it because the yarn would have all unraveled. But the mice got them this year in the barn. So I had to throw
Aw.
them all out. So I've been trying to figure out what I should do for sweaters. Not like I have pregnant goats or anything, but a girl
But
can dream, right?
that is just so much easier. And like, I did go online and find some clearance sweaters for the babies because I'm gonna do a little Valentine's Day shoot, and they were only like
Oh,
$3.50 each. So I just grabbed like 6 of those in 2 different colors, just because like who doesn't like goats in pajamas and stuff, anyways, you know?
oh yeah, for sure. So, have you tried to milk Maya yet?
No. I'm letting her just keep all the milk to her own babies. I'm keeping an eye on her to make sure like her udder doesn't look uncomfortably full. If it does, then we'll do an attempt. I've been able to like get some out of her just to practice because I've never milked a goat before. So I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I grew up around dairy cows, but this is a lot smaller.
Yeah. I was gonna say I've never milked anything before.
Yeah. So I guess I really haven't either, because we had like automatic milkers at my grandparents. So it's not like we were out in the barn like on our hands and knees or sitting on a
Yeah.
little bench. So yeah, no, my plan is just to let her just nurse them for now because I'm not even prepared to deal with goat milk myself.
Yeah, have you got your milk stand built
No.
yet?
No, we are not prepared. But we are going to attempt to do our own CD&T shots. So
Mm-hmm.
we did get that, and we have the needles and everything, but we're just going to wait to do that for a little longer. And then we got to figure out, too, either we're going to call and see if the vet can come out and do the disbudding or if we can bring them to the vet's office. Because I'm definitely not prepared to do that step myself yet.
Yeah.
Or the lady that came out and did toots, like she came out and did it for like $10. So if she wants to come out and we give her like, I even give her like $50 to come out and just do those 3 and just not
Yeah.
to have to really take them too far or anything. Like, I'm happy to support somebody that wants to come out and do that. And she did a really good job with toots. So I feel good about her doing that for these babies as well.
Yeah, there's a lot that you got to think about when there's new baby goats on the farm. I'm glad you're going to try to do the CD&T shots. It was really dramatic the first time we did it, but it really is easy. It's just that the act of sticking a needle into a living thing is a little weird
Right,
if you
right.
don't do that on a regular basis. Like,
Right. And there was a long time with needles, like if people just talked about needles or drawing blood, I would feel woozy. But now it's like, okay, I've been watching videos on the internet of how to do it, and I'm practicing like just pinching and tenting their skin now. So I'm getting used to just that and them feeling me do that to them. Obviously, I'm not stabbing them with a needle yet, but
yeah.
just so I get more comfortable with the idea of it. Because like this is like a really huge step for me to do that. And then I'm going to start with the babies. And then once we get the milk stand, the bigger goats are going to be a little harder to deal with. So,
Yeah.
but
That
everybody,
totally makes
we
sense.
got to do it. Everybody needs it. So
Yep.
I just need to put on my big girl panties and do it.
Baby steps, baby steps.
Yeah, but I was really proud of myself for how I handled all this. Matt actually missed all 3 of them coming out. The
Oh.
first one he missed completely, and then he was like walking back in the barn when the next 2 came out. So he actually missed it all. And he just kept telling me like, good job, honey. Like, good job. Like multiple times through the day. So like, and for him to express that kind of emotion is kind of rare because he's kind of like, doesn't talk about feelings or anything, or not that he's like mean or anything. I don't know how to describe it, but like for him to say that multiple times means he was really impressed with me, and that felt kind of nice. And I was impressed with myself too because I didn't freak out. It was far less gross than I thought it was going to be, and like I just kind of handled it, even with the umbilical cord thing, which I wasn't even mentally prepared to do. Like, it kind of grossed me out a little bit. But that was probably the grossest part, actually, which is saying something.
Yeah, that is saying something. But that's so sweet. And it's a good reminder that like, doing these things together like as a family is something that's really nice. Like you
Right.
guys get to share in that and work together in it. And because I mean, relationships aren't easy and life isn't easy. But when you get to just like go back to something so I don't know if primal is the word I want to use, but
But yeah, I think that's primal, or even like, I don't even want to call it basic because it's not basic, but it's very natural.
yeah, just
Yeah.
like to experience something like that together on like your farm in the place where you guys built this together and did all of this stuff leading up to it. Like I don't, I don't know. It stirs some emotions in you, and it's really
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
It's stirring emotions in me talking about
I
it.
know, I'm trying not to cry because I'm like trying not to be a little bitch about it. But I did actually like cry after the first one came out, and I was like by myself. I probably wouldn't if my husband was there because he'd be like, really? But it was beautiful, and it was like, holy shit, this is happening. And she did such a good job with it, and she's such a good mama.
Oh,
It's just
that's so
really
sweet.
cool to see. And now my husband's like, gosh, we have such high expectations of like a good mama goat now that we know what it
Yeah.
looks like. And he's like, gosh, Diana's personality is just different. Like, I hope she doesn't do like a bad job. And I'm like, stop saying that. Like,
Well, if she did a bad job, you'd have bottle babies. You'd have
exactly.
house goat bottle babies, and yeah, I mean, so you're prepared for either way because you've done that
Yes.
before.
Yeah.
But it's just like so, like everything is just like sort of come to like a crescendo of like this is the moment right now. Because I mean, you've had goats for what like a year
Like
now.
a year and a like a year and a half ish, a little over a year and a half, because we got Biscuit and Maya in June of 2015. No, 2017. So it's been a minute.
Yeah. And it's just like a good reminder that all of this is like a marathon. It's
Yes.
not a sprint. Like everything
Right.
takes time and it's okay to do everything slowly. And
Hmm.
even like it doesn't matter how excited you are for the next step, just like following them is important. It's part of the process.
Right. And we got to last January, so I'm seeing all his time hop photos coming up. Um, and he's like a little over a year old, so he's a young dad. And he does not like being separated from the ladies. But yesterday we like put one of the babies up over the wall so he could see it, and he made a
Oh.
noise, and then the baby made a noise, and it was just like, oh, they know, which I don't know if they actually know, but in my head it's a really cool idea. So
Well, so now that you have your baby goats, I've been like fervently trying to figure out like what to do to get my goats pregnant. Cuz like I've sort of hit a wall here cuz I don't have any intact goats. But I did reach out to Erica, the goat chick. We
hmm.
interviewed her a couple episodes ago. The episode is called Drink and Make Goats. So if you haven't heard that yet, listeners, you'll want to go listen to it because she's full of all sorts of knowledge. And yeah, she can totally get me some intact bucklings that have the traits that I'm looking for,
Hmm.
which is super cool. But like, I'm not set up for bucks. And because I have registered does, I have to keep really important records on like who bred with whom.
Hmm.
So I can't just go get bucklings and go throw them in there with them.
Right. Unless
That
you
won't
just
work
want like a
here.
practice round.
Yeah, I could have a practice round and they could just all be sold as unregistered and I have no idea who dad is. That
Yeah.
I mean that could totally work. I've thought about just getting one and breeding them all to the same
Hmm.
dad and then just selling all the kids because I depending on like the genetics and stuff, I'd have to like
Right.
really look at whether or not I would keep anyone since they were all bred to the same
Mm-hmm.
person or the same goat.
Right.
Um, but yeah, something else I started looking into since I can't find a driveway breeder is artificial insemination. And I was like, yeah, I could totally do that. And then I started digging into it. It's super expensive and requires really specific like gear
Mm-hmm.
and training in order to do it successfully. So I don't know. I haven't even talked to Jared about that, but I fell down like a
Oh my
3 hour rabbit
God.
hole of artificial insemination the other day. And like you have to have a nitrous oxide tank and you have to order like straws full of semen from like these semen banks.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah.
So that sounds like really complicated and crazy, but I mean, it would be good for the podcast.
It would. It'd be super good for the podcast. Yeah, I have to decide. Well, because, like, I can see why people do the artificial insemination if they don't have the setup for bucks, but they have good, like genetics on their farm and they have like a good little, side gig selling Nigerian dwarf goats. Then it makes financial sense. But like some of these buck semen is like $100 per straw and
Wow.
it might not take.
Right.
The first time, and they usually are sold in packs of 5 straws, and
Wow.
they can only be stored for like, well, I think they can be stored indefinitely as long as they're stored properly because they're like, I believe it's cryogenically frozen since there's nitrous oxide inside the tank. It's like a cryo tank type of thing that you keep it in. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to avoid breeding them all to the same buck, but if they come in
Mm-hmm.
packs of 5 canes and I only have 4 does, like, yeah, it just like, I was looking at it, I was like, it's way cheaper just to go pick up a buck.
Yeah. I actually had somebody message me the day that they were born. And they were like, "Do you have an intact buck on site?" Like, and basically asking if I would do stud service. And I was like, I don't think so because, like, I haven't tested my herd for anything, which I
Yeah.
need to do if I'm going to sell any of these guys because I'd feel better saying for sure that I know everybody's fine.
Yep.
Um, Another reason I need a milk stand so I can take blood samples. Um, and then, uh, and because I don't know that, I'm not comfortable. And it's like, and if you don't have your herd tested, like, I'm not comfortable bringing him over. I told her, like, you're really just better off just getting a buck. And she's like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I have the space for it. And, with the smell and everything, you want to make sure, like, you have the space and you're not, like, super close to neighbors or anything.
Yeah.
So she's kind of, I think, struggling with the same thing, but it's like I just want to, protect my little herd and those babies and everybody. So it's not like I'm just gonna pimp little Toot out right now.
Yeah, I mean, which is wise. That is the wise thing to do. So, I do. Everyone is scheduled to get their hooves trimmed again next weekend, and I'm gonna look and feel for like the veins and stuff, so that I can
Mm-hmm.
decide whether or not I'm ready to take the blood now, or whether or not I need to, watch a few more videos, feel a few more veins, make sure that I've got,
Yeah.
what I need. But yeah, it's funny. Like shit's getting real now.
Mm-hmm.
It was like
Yeah.
this used to just be like a really low key like fun thing, but there's like real serious stuff that has to be done as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really bummed that I actually didn't have Toot registered a while ago. Because he put out some pretty babies and I don't know much about like conformance right now, but they're all looking pretty good to me based on what I do know. So I'm kind of like, damn it.
It's
Um,
not too late to register him.
I'll have to talk to the breeder, who is also friends with the person that would come over and do the disbudding. I might be like, hey, you told me if I ever wanted to breed Toot to let you know. So I can be like, hey, look what he did. And then maybe ask, because I think both of his parents were registered. It's just that he didn't come with papers. We got him when he was a week old. So,
Yeah, as long as she has all the records, he can totally be registered. She'll give you the paperwork that you need. She might charge you for it because it is
yeah,
like it's a bit of work to put all that stuff together.
right.
Um,
But it's like it'd be fine if I can get more money. I mean, they're all bucklings, but they're good and, It could
Yeah.
double what I ask for them, depending on when I would really like to keep them all. I'm for sure keeping waffles.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Good.
But for the other ones, I'm not sure. And depending on if we register Toot or not, like I'm thinking about keeping waffles intact. Because he's really flashy looking.
Yeah.
And then I'm also considering even now, like, getting another doe, like, completely separate, from everybody that is currently there,
Yeah.
to kind of spice things up a little bit.
Is Maya registered?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I haven't sprung the whole I want another doe to Matt yet, because I'm probably just gonna wait a while.
Yeah.
And then I kind of want to wait and see what Diana has too. Diana is not registered, and it's probably not super responsible of me to have bred her because she does have extra teats.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So a lot of serious breeders would have actually culled her when she was born, because they
Oh,
don't believe in just selling pet goats, which
yeah.
I don't feel that way at all. So I want to see, like, what comes out of her. If they're boys, I probably will,
You'll weather them all.
yes, because I
Yeah.
don't want them passing on those genetics. And then with
Yep.
the female, like, we just wouldn't breed her, or I would just let them know when I sold her, this isn't her genetics, like, just so you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
she's
that's
not
smart.
registered, so it's not like they would, be trying to sell and register. She's not
Yeah.
registered, so they're not going to be selling those does kids anytime soon for big bucks. And yeah.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. It's hard. The ethics that go into breeding animals bring
Mm-hmm.
up all sorts of like new things. And I can understand why some breeders don't believe in selling pets because pets end up at the shelter. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's sort of amazing the things that human beings are capable of with their pets. It's really disappointing sometimes. So,
Right. Or even like the situation with Cal and Diana, they came from the breeder that I got Biscuit and Myatt from, and they were a year old when they came to us, and that lady just said that she couldn't take care of them for health reasons.
yeah.
I don't know if it was like mental health or something that you couldn't see. She seemed perfectly freaking fine to me. But I could be wrong because I don't know her story, don't know her life.
Yeah.
But she could have just gotten tired of it too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that can happen with
Right.
pets.
She lives
So
in a city limit, and she doesn't have a large setup. Not that you need a large setup for goats, but it's like people think baby goats are so cute and they want one, and then you tell them they need two, and then and they become like 75-pound animals. So I can understand kind of the idea of not liking the idea of pet goats, but at the same time, some people just want them on their farm to milk, and they don't need something registered and fancy. They just need something that's going to do the job.
yep, and then they just breed their one goat, every year, sell the kids as pets, and yeah,
Hmm.
yep.
But honestly, I could not imagine culling a baby goat. Like, holy crap.
Um, the only way I would is if it was something serious, like a serious genetic defect.
Hmm.
And it wouldn't be for it wouldn't be for my convenience. It would be because they had something that prevented them from eating properly
Right.
or yeah, because like I think it's important to keep in mind the life quality of the animal.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's hard to be that person that makes that decision. It's not an easy ethical decision by any means, but you can't just keep animals alive because you aren't capable of taking their life. If it's something
Right.
that is going to continually cause them pain or continually cause them to not to be able to do some basic things, and it can't be corrected, like by prosthetics or there's
Hmm.
all sorts of things you can do. But yeah.
Exactly.
Those are ethical questions for another day.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't have to make them right now.
I would probably take them to a vet and be like, here's the $100 or whatever, please put them
Oh,
down
yeah.
because I couldn't, do it myself.
Well, that's a good way to do it because you know that that's painless. So
Yeah.
that's you're doing the best thing that you know that you can for them. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man, we had like so many emotional up and downs this episode.
Yeah, we did, but here we are, and Diana's still laying down and sleeping, and acting like she's not even pregnant. Maybe she's just faking the whole thing.
Oh, you know what? That goats do that sometimes,
Oh
but
my god, that would be so funny.
I'm so excited that you have baby goats though. We'll talk about whether or not you get to get registered, get to registered later. Because if you can register too and you register Waffles, I might just wait until the summer and take my goats up there and breed the registered ones to Waffles because that would be a lot of fun. Because we know each other, and
Or
so that makes it easier.
or you could, just buy one of my bucklings then if they're registered.
Oh yeah, but Waffles is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. He is pretty fancy.
He's pretty fancy, but the other two are adorable also. One looked just like Toot to me in one of the pictures. So
Yeah. Eggsy Benedict has I laugh at their names so much. Has like Toot's face when I was looking at older photos, and then
oh.
Tater Tot has more of the coloring and kind of also similar bone structure. So yeah. Waffles just is like a huge mix.
Yeah,
of both.
he's so adorable. Like the fun colorings are part of the fun too.
Yes.
Well, Coop Camp dates have been announced.
Yes. And we will be there June 7th through 9th, and actually probably like the day before, probably not leaving till the day after. But come hang out with us. You can go to fatedjeans.tv/coop-camp.html. And you can come hang out with your favorite podcasters. We hope that's us.
Yes, we sure do. And don't forget to take our survey. You can give us anonymous feedback through that. There is a link to it in the show notes.
Yes, and join our Facebook group. Like I mentioned earlier, I put baby goat stuff, like late or new breaking news baby goat stuff in there that they all saw first. So go check that out. It's We Drink and We Farm Things over on Facebook.
Yeah, I've mostly just been posting funny animal videos that I find on the internet.
I mean, those are good too.
I mean, Goose Parade, come on. And don't forget to review us in all the places. Subscribe, and if you really like us and you have some space on your phone or device or wherever you listen, hit the download button because that helps us get listener counts a little easier if you want to help us out.
Yes, and we do sell merchandise. If you want to buy some stuff that I make, you can go to drinkandfarm.com/shop. If you want to buy some stuff like hoodies and camping cups and shirts, we have a separate shop for that right now. It's drinkandfarmmerch.com. I'm wearing one of the sweatshirts right now because it's basically my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, I basically live in those hoodies. Yeah.
Yes.
And send us your farm stories. If you have a story from your farm that you think fellow listeners could laugh at, learn from, or just warm their hearts, we want to hear it. So send them to us via DM on Instagram, or you can email them to us at drinkandfarm@gmail.com. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, and we're going to follow up with the saga of Diana's birth on the next episode. So either go join that Facebook group to see the latest and greatest updates, or we'll give you that update on the next episode.
So drink,
farm, and give zero clucks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh, I wasn't ready.